Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Dr. Thomason, roll call.
President Reese, members of the board, please let the record show we have all 5 board members here and present tonight.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and have our moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, we'll go on to the approval of the agenda. I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We'll go on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Thomason.
President Reese, members of the board, tonight we have some schools that we want to recognize for our points of pride. So at this time, I'm going to invite Michelle Reese up to the podium and introduce those individuals. Michelle.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Madam President, members of the board, and our community, tonight we have 2 schools to recognize for points of pride, and I'd first like to bring Mr. Sean Varner to the front to do a presentation for Cooley Middle School.
Good evening. I've asked our assistant principal, Tara Geyer, to come on up and help me with the presentation as well. President Reese, members of the board, Dr. Thomason, cabinet, we have some amazing folks that we're going to introduce you to tonight from Cooley Middle School. So first of all, our classified employee for a Points of Pride nominee, Lisa Simmons, will you come on up, please? So first of all, Lisa Simmons, behind every great school is a great administrative assistant, and there is no exception with Lisa. One word describes her: amazing. She is so organized. She is funny, yes. She helps with, in terms of, I'll just let her say. No, she wants to say. No, she helps organize events that help with our whole morale with our school, and organize just about everything that comes through our door. I can depend on her for absolutely anything and everything. It's funny, our teachers and staff know on campus, they'll come to me with questions, and it's not uncommon for me to say, let me check with Lisa. And I'm not embarrassed to say that to them. So I really appreciate what Lisa provides for us and our campus, and the organization she provides for us, and it is my absolute pleasure to nominate Lisa Simmons for the classified Points of Pride. So Lisa, we have a poinsettia for you. Our teacher Points of Pride nominee, Mr. Troy Nelson, come on up. Troy, congratulations. So Mr. Nelson is a 7th grade social studies teacher at Cooley Middle School. Where do I start with him? First of all, start very early in the morning, because he's one of the earliest to arrive on our campus. getting things ready for the day with his students. He is extremely organized, like I had talked about with Lisa as well, as far as his classroom, extremely organized, extremely caring teacher, has a lot of pride in what he does. He absolutely loves teaching. Not only is he a great teacher, he's just a great human being. Always has a smile on his face, in terms of always being there to help us out when we need help. A couple of examples with that. He just recently helped with our Respect Retreat that we had on Cooley's campus last Friday. He volunteered to do that, and loved it, absolutely loved it when we talked throughout that day. And wrestling matches that go well into not only the evenings but into the nights. He's always there helping with that, again on a volunteer basis. So Troy, again, my pleasure to have you as our nominee for our Teacher Points of Pride, and we have a poinsettia for you as well. Congratulations. The microphone, I should say. For our student Points of Pride nominee, Wyatt Pulliam, come on up. Wyatt, congratulations. So, Wyatt Pulliam, as you can tell, is a bundle of joy. I was just telling his folks in the back when we walked in, we were talking, an absolute bundle of joy. You know, I first met Wyatt last year. He came into our school in the middle of the school year. And that's tough for a student to come in, get used to, make new friends, get used to new kids, get used to a new school. And, it was great talking to him at lunch. I would see him every day at lunch, and it was a pleasure every day, and even this school year, having these conversations with him. Always has a smile on his face, no matter what. He always wants to talk about what's going on in his classes, what's going on in the school, what's going on with his friends. And in talking to his teachers, he has just absolutely blossomed, especially this school year, as far as wanting to participate in classroom discussions, wanting to be an active learner. I actually was in one of his classrooms about 2 weeks ago. And he and Wyatt, what he did, it was interesting. The teacher was asking questions, and every time, hand came up, hand came up, hand came up. Wyatt wanted to answer every single question. That was in Mrs. Stott's class. I don't know if you remember that. Yes, and absolute joy to his teachers. So congratulations, Wyatt. I want to present you with a card. I didn't know if you would want a poinsettia, so I have a card and a little something for you inside the card, okay? Congratulations, Wyatt. And hang on, you guys. What I'm going to have you guys do, I'm going to have you guys introduce who's here in the crowd supporting you, okay? So, Wyatt, we're going to start with you.
All right, so who's supporting me?
Yeah, who's here supporting you?
Well, my family over there is hi, Mom, hi, Dad. Also my Miss Stubbs and Miss Brown over there. And also a bunch of other people at school and Miss Sanson. Hi, Miss Sanson. Thanks for coming to class.
Wyatt has a lot of supporters here. Mr. Nelson?
My wife, Sherry, and my daughter, Erin.
Thanks for being here.
And I have my sweet Jason and my son Jacob, second grader at Centennial, and Lacey, who's a sophomore at Higley High.
All right, again, congratulations, guys. Well deserved, and stay here. We're going to get a picture.
Tonight, we also get to recognize the Points of Pride from Williamsfield High School, so I'd like to invite Principal Steve Tannenbaum.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Madam President, members of the board, cabinet. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk about some amazing people that are part of our Blackhawk family here at Williamsfield High School. Make sure I'm listed up yet. So we'll go, there we go. I'm gonna go in order. I messed up order last time. So first, outstanding individual to talk about tonight. Mrs. Porter, if you can come on up, April Porter. So a little bit about Mrs. Porter. One, being an awesome mom of 5 beautiful kids. Mrs. Porter constantly works so hard as our marketing teacher, as well as a DECA advisor. Countless hours of service all the time. And I say I get to see her interact as a mom as well, because if it's a break, here comes the Porter group coming in. Helping mom in her classroom, and she prepares tirelessly to give her students the best environment, best opportunities that our teachers can. She works, as I said, a DECA advisor as well, and just puts in time, energy, field trips, opportunities to constantly challenge her students, guide her students in different activities, brings in guest speakers as well for her students to see the variety of opportunities out there in the marketing or economics. She does a phenomenal job, and she's so enthusiastic about everything she does, and we just really appreciate everything about her and who she is on a daily basis. So, April, thank you so much. Our next outstanding individual, Miss Buscema, come on up, Mary Buscema. So, yeah, she won't. Miss Buscema, I just can't say enough. Many of our board members, as well as our cabinet members, know who Mary is and what she does. She is such a valuable individual on our campus. She works in our College and Career Center, but it's not just that. It's not just that position that she has. She constantly looks at ways to engage the community around her, to support and guide the students as they go through the college application or job process. Ms. Buscema goes above and beyond constantly. She was, today I teased her as I walked by, she was wearing a full holiday Christmas outfit today with, I think, antlers that were lit up, holding a sign that put out the Spirit Weeks for the week. During passing periods, Ms. Buscema stepping out in the hall, and she just has a sign that says, "Have an amazing Monday." She does Amazing Tuesday, and she just stands out and she says hello. She helps out with clubs on campus. She finds new ways to reinvent opportunities on our campus with the diversity programs that she put on this year for our staff and our students, and bringing in community members. Just the countless and tireless hours that she puts in, and what she brings to our campus is so unbelievable, and we appreciate everything about her. Mary Buscema. Our next, our student that we'd like to honor tonight, Miss Porter knows him very well. Cooper Gents, come on up. So Cooper, my kind of first experience to get to see Cooper this year was in the beginning of the year when he's currently in the DECA. He's actually the DECA president and the Student Senate president, as well as in the top 10% of his class. But a piece about him that goes beyond just positions held and academic success that he's had is his way of being a senior and still trying to find ways to better the campus that he's in. And my first experience with that this year was seeing him in the beginning of the school year looking for ways to make our halls more a warm and inviting experience by using some of the products that they currently have in the Black Hawk shop, which of course Ms. Porter runs as part of the marketing, going above and beyond to try to do elements there of die cutting and name recognition, signs made on campus, any ways that he could to continually better our campus. Also, as part of our Student Senate, which is a new leadership organization that we have on campus, serves as the president there and has done a phenomenal job bringing some of the concerns, or positive or negative, to administration to help give our students a voice and an organized, clear voice of things that they need help with, that our students need help with, in ways that we can do that. So Cooper's done an amazing job with that in just a very short amount of time this current school year. Cooper Jensen. Our volunteers of the year for us here, we have the Marks family. If I can have them come on up, I appreciate that. So I'll wait for you guys to come up. So happy they were able to join us tonight. So happy all of you were able to come tonight. A little bit about the Marks family. They have done so much and given so much over the years with involvement in our baseball program, and the volunteer and the time and the energy. Some of our high school sports these days are not just season sports anymore. It's not a spring sport and that's the end of it. There is so much more that goes into competing now in high school athletics. Everything from fundraising and organization, to fall ball, to winter ball, to summer ball, and then sometime in there was the actual real season of the AIA that's in there. And so that process that just continues constantly, they have been involved from the beginning. When their son began part of the baseball program. That has now transformed into extra efforts and unbelievable efforts that they have given time and energy, and looking to fundraise to produce a new batting cage for us on the campus. And when I say batting cage, you have to think massive structure for all to use. And that piece and that process that they have worked tirelessly on when it comes to fundraising and wanting to give back, and wanting to turn something that was possibly a struggle and a sad moment in any life, but able to give back and find to be able to repurpose an opportunity for a high school campus to celebrate, to enjoy, and for a legacy to be able to be left for multiple athletes, multiple seasons, multiple graduating classes to be able to benefit with. And so we appreciate not only their efforts within the Booster Club, within the volunteering, within all the seasons, but as well as the efforts that they have been made to give back and put something on the Williamsfield campus that will last far beyond their own child's career over a 4-year period there. So we thank him so much. Thank you for all of your efforts. Okay, so want to share a little bit about our who are here with you tonight. So if you can take a second, and we'll start with you, Ms. Porter, and share who's in the crowd.
You've met my noisy little 3-year-old boy. His name is Bo. And then my husband, of course, is here. His name is Daniel. We have also 4 daughters. They're all in the schools here in the district. 2 of them are at Sossaman. My 8th grader, Lainey, my 7th grader, Skylar, and then at Cortina Elementary are my 3rd grader, Taylor, and my 5th grader, Jordan. Oh, and
Marcia Swisher, and everybody in this room, so thank you.
My amazing DECA advisor, Ms. Porter, is here. As well as my parents and 2 teachers that I formerly had at Cooley, Mr. Ranweiler and Ms. Geyer, are also here. I don't think they're here for me, but I'll take advantage of them being here.
So unfortunately, we did not invite anyone of our friends and family to be here this evening, but I do have Noah. He goes to Williamsfield. He's a junior, and I have Zach, who actually graduated from Higley High School within the district. He's a junior at ASU. And my mother-in-law, who really helped make all of this possible, Judy Marks, and my husband, Chris Marks.
Besides the 26 special events we have in December, we do have some other things coming up. We have the winter break, that is from December 21st to January 4th. And then we have our next governing board meeting on Wednesday, January 16th, followed by Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday on Monday, January 21st, where there's no school, and then our work study on January 30th. But tonight, we also have another special presentation. So at this time, I would like to invite up Michelle Reese to recognize a special group of people and a presentation that she'll show you. You can look at your screens for some incredibly hard work that they've done this year. Michelle, please introduce your team.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. President Reese, members of the board, and our community. Each year, the Arizona School Public Relations Association recognizes the great stories, publications, and campaigns created by the school districts in Arizona. And this year, Higley Unified School District was awarded 6 of those awards. These campaigns were created by the very talented public relations team here in Higley, with script and web writing by myself and Miss Lena Hurtado-Keenan, photos and video created by Mr. Ryan Collier, and website and social media creation by Miss Amy McKenzie, who is enjoying her daughter's music presentation this evening. First, let me show you the websites that were honored with awards of merit. The History of Higley page was a months-long effort by Miss Lena Hurtado to find the stories and history of Higley. She interviewed current and past employees and students and helped put together a timeline that we were able to share online. What's been great about this website is alumni have seen it through our social media and have contacted us with more stories and more photos, so we're going to be able to continue to add to this page. The second web page that was awarded an award of merit was a page we created for all families to be able to find the information they want about our kindergarten program. This is something that hadn't existed previously. So everything kindergarten, from registration to enrollment to information about our specialty programs, as well as a little glimpse into some of those classrooms, have all been combined into this webpage that we started marketing last spring and will continue to market into the new year. The highest award given by the Arizona School Public Relations Association is the Award of Excellence. What's great about all these awards is the submissions are sent to school public relations professionals in other states, so we are recognized by someone in another part of the country. What I love about this is these videos were all created by Mr. Ryan to help sell the story as well as launch our new campaign, Grow, Learn, Lead. You've probably seen these, but since we've won an award with them, I'd like to share them again. Growing Learners into Leaders was the first video we created to help launch this brand.
Higley Unified School District began inspiring students in 1909. Today, the 13 campuses of Higley are the #1 choice of neighborhood families who desire a strong education for their children in the thriving communities of Queen Creek and Gilbert, Arizona. From the classroom, to the concert hall, to the sports field, Higley teachers partner with families to form the foundations today that help students shine light on their dreams, plant their paths, and grow their futures. Grow, learn, lead.
The second video that was recognized by the Arizona School Public Relations Association was a video we put together to tell the story of all the different arts programs we offer, from elementary to middle school to high school.
Without fine arts, we wind up living in a textbook or just within our own boundaries, and we don't expand that for ourselves. And fine arts is that open door. Everything that we make and create and do, whether it be dance, music, art, it's a documentation of who you were at that time and where you're maybe going with this and maybe who you want to be down the road.
We see these kids come together and really create this culture of leadership, and they open doors not only for themselves, but they also set a precedence for the next generation when these kids graduate, so they can rise up to it and then become that leader that they want to be.
Grow, learn, lead.
The next video that was recognized was one that was birthed from an idea that Dr. Thomason and I were talking about to share the soft skills as well as the career and technical education skills that students are learning in our secondary programs.
Higley Unified School District provides education to more than 12,000 students in the thriving communities of Gilbert and Queen Creek, Arizona. Within the classrooms of the 13 campuses and our educational partner, the East Valley Institute of Technology, teachers and staff are preparing students for workforce success, growing learners into leaders and developing students who will positively impact our world. What skills are Higley students learning? Take a look. What are your workforce needs? Higley Unified School District is growing learners into leaders.
Cultivating the next generation of leaders. Higley Unified School District. Grow, learn, lead. Visit HUSD.org.
The next program that was recognized by the Arizona School Public Relations Association was a video we created to help promote our preschools and to tell people about the various programs we have available.
%90 of a child's brain is developed by the time they're 5 years old. So it is vital that we are making those connections with children in those first 5 years. We offer a variety of programs here at each of our early childhood development centers because we know that families have many needs. Some children are just beginning their educational experience and may need only a 2-day program, others a 3-day program. And then we have our kindergarten prep, which is specifically designed for children who are going to kindergarten the next year, providing that 5-day experience, either full day or half day for students so that we are getting them prepared and ready. We also have a Mandarin immersion program at our Cooley campus, a Spanish immersion program at our Sossaman campus, and we also offer Think, Higley's Highly Gifted Academy, also at our Sossaman Center.
We are really excited to offer this Highly Gifted Academy for our youngest learners through kindergarten prep. We are able to provide families an opportunity right from the start of a child's school experience to be in a classroom with kids who are similar to them. Kids who are really excited to be in a school, kids who are very curious, kids who might learn at a more rapid pace than some of their other classmates. In this young student setting, our teacher is also able to integrate social stories to help with the affective development of our students. In this small classroom environment, we're able to personalize our learning experiences for our children through dramatic play, through academic experiences that are all very individualized to meet the academic and social emotional needs of our students. I get to walk into a classroom and see precious little children who are so excited about learning, visiting a dramatic play area and watching children pretend to be a veterinarian or a florist, or visiting a station where children are learning how to write or read. It's a spot where kids can be leaders, it's a spot where kids can be curious, it's a spot where kids can also make friends.
Cultivating the next generation of leaders. Higley Unified School District. Grow, learn, lead. Visit HUSD.org.
I cannot be more proud of this team and what they do to help Higley shine in the East Valley and in Arizona. I can't wait to come back next year with more awards.
So President Reese, members of the board, I'd like to invite you down so we can get a picture, so we can get something special with all of our award winners, so they can come up, and then they have another story to tell when we have this. I couldn't be more proud. It truly brings joy to my heart to see how we're finally telling the Higley story, and we got such great stories to tell. So come on up, guys. Let's get a picture with all of you here so we can do one more story.
Thank you. I love watching those videos. It gives me goosebumps every time. Very nice. Congratulations. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to board comments then. And I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Aaron Harris and his group for preparing boxes and packages and gifts for students and families to ensure we have our break coming up, to ensure that they have those who need it, that they have food, that they have Christmas gifts, that putting stuff together to make sure our families are taken care of during that break. So I just want to say thank you to Aaron Harris and that whole group. Mr. Tannenbaum's gone and Ms. Porter's gone. We had the opportunity, this board has been nominated and selected as one of 3 for an Arizona School Board Association Award for Good Governance. And it's really exciting. We find out on Friday, but we know we're one of 3. And we had the opportunity to do a fun little video for Arizona School Board Association. Shall be interesting. They asked us to dance. No, they're not showing it now, but they will show it at the award banquet on Friday.
That's as far as it goes. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
I've never done the floss before, so it shall be very interesting. But we were on the Williamsfield campus to shoot that video, and with Mrs. Porter, they had their marketing days, which I found to be very interesting, and it's when their marketing class and DECA and everyone came together and actually sold their products on campus. A bunch of different groups created their own products and sold them. So I found that while we were there, we were looking at the posters, and it was so neat. Some were fanny packs, and there was certainly some blasts from the past of the 80s, and some of us could relate to those, but it was very interesting. So I wanted to kind of give a shout out about that. That was a very creative way for students to learn real life business. They had to have a product, they had to set a price, they had to sell it, they had to collect the money. So that was very exciting. So I want to wish our board luck. We will find out on Friday. As I said, we're one of 3 school districts up for the Good Governance Award. So we're really excited and very proud of that. I think this board's worked really hard on having the voice of our community, our students, our staff. So very nice.
President Reese, I just wanted to talk a little bit about all the schools in our area are doing either sock drives or angel tree or toy drives this time of year, and I just think it's awesome, the generosity of this community and the people behind it that have started these things. I've popped by a few schools myself and just see their donations and their Christmas presents, and it's just awesome. Not to mention there's tons of plays and orchestra and choir and dance and all the things again at the end of the semester going on. You could go every night. I looked on the calendar. There was an event that you could attend in Higley and see some kind of, not that I did, I'll be really honest, I did not, but it was amazing, all the things that are being performed, and that means teachers are staying late and coming in still early, so just thank you for that.
I would just like to say that on last week, President Reese, myself, and newly elected Joe Wilson, we went on a tour of Williamsfield, and they did a little bit different. They did a whole presentation. Each of the different groups, instead of us a walk and talk around campus, the different groups came and did a presentation, and I can't tell you, they just knocked it out of the park, how well spoken, how the leadership, and it was just, we're just truly proud of to see what took place over there as well. Also, I just want to share with you, last Sunday, I went to the Arizona Asian Festival. It's in Arizona. Higley knocked it out of the park again in reference to the art competition. It was like the majority of the students that won were our students at this large event. They've got some awesome trophies. I mean, these aren't little trophies, these are huge trophies that they've got. And also in this booklet is the students' posters. So not only did the Asian Society elect to choose our students, but they chose their posters to be in this program too as well. So we were well represented at the Asian Festival, so I was pretty proud.
I have a follow-up comment to Ms. Kaler's comments about the events. I had a chance to attend the Bridges Elementary Band concert. Mr. Ashworth is doing a fantastic job, and we have excellent high school bands, and that starts with the elementaries. And so just excited to see the performances and how well done it was. And just, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, Madam President, but just want to express confidence in my colleagues here on the board and gratitude for your time and trust in the board's governance going forward, and appreciation, Dr. Thomason, especially to you two and to your staff. So thank you to everyone for your time, and I am confident that the school district is going to continue and do great things, even better things than before. So thank you.
Any other comments? All right. Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Thornock. All right, we're going to go on to request to speak to the governing board. We value input from our constituents. This time has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Please remember, this is not an appropriate venue to evaluate, discuss, or criticize district personnel. Policy KEB provides a process for complaints about personnel. Speakers should be aware that false statements about individuals may result in civil liability. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Mr. Cusick.
Put on my glasses. Madam President, fellow board members, Dr. Thomason, all Higley staff, parents, taxpayers, and last but not least, students. My name is Joe Gusick, and I'm your lovable, slightly annoying I'm your education Lorex. First of all, Mr. Lornick, thank you. I know your time was short, but I will always appreciate any effort, especially somebody who comes and does it for nothing. After this meeting, I'm going to go to the Chandler School Board, and I'm going to say my goodbyes to Madam President Annette Auxier, who served for 20 years, and then board member Bob Rice, who served for 16 years. No compensation. I wrote a letter to our governor, and I hopefully, and their state elected officials, I'm hoping they will provide them something tonight. If it be a phone call from the governor for 3 or 4 minutes. Obviously, you've seen his education town halls before or heard of them. Hopefully, he'll take a moment to say thank you to individuals that did something so thankless. What I wanted to share with you tonight was I went to see Senator Brophy McGee yesterday. What I shared with her was one simple question. Do you want to provide the schools what they need? She said, of course I do. I said in the next 60 minutes, we had a discussion back and forth. I shared with them something that Professor Dennis Hoffman from ASU provided. A document that showed it in 1979, 69% of the state budget went to education. All of it. By 2008, it went down to 57%. And just this last year, even with the increases in funding, it's shy of 51%. Out of the total state budget, it's 27%. Now, we all have to ask ourselves the question, do we expand the budget and provide you what you need? Or do we push back on those other expenses, like healthcare and incarceration? The 3 words that I always hear down at the state capitol is we educate, incarcerate, and medicate. At some point, as I've asked the governor and Professor Garcia, would you do a time study, cost study for our entire K-12 education system? I'm sad to say both of them said no. One called me personally and said, I'll talk about it after I get elected. Sorry. I said, no, I will not vote for any of you. My point to this conversation is this: just like you did with the history of Higley, it is up to you to do the history of the entire K-12 education system. So if they won't do it, I ask you to do it, and you have the team they just showed me with all those nice little videos. Take your talents and use them wisely, not just for the kids of Higley, but for every child in the state of Arizona. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, and we don't have any other requests. So we will go on to our consent agenda items. Move that we approve the consent agenda items 6.2 through 6.10.
Support.
Any questions or comments regarding consent? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we're going to go on to action and information items. We'll start with 8.1, which is our fiscal year 19 monthly governing report for November of 2018. Anyone have any questions? Again, Mr. Holland, thank you. We appreciate you take the time and pull this together, not just for our board, but for our community, so they can see our monthly expenses and our monthly finance reports. So thank you. Any questions on the finance report? No. Okay. And we're going to go on to 8.2, which is our Wellness Week review. Ms. Corey.
President, members of the board, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Corey to present our Wellness Week video and to talk a little bit and answer questions in regards to our Wellness Week. Ms. Corey.
I get the microphone. Yes, some prefer the lavender. So good evening, Madam President and Governing Board. Tonight, we bring you a review of our Wellness Week. First, a brief history. In September of 2017, there was a desire to move forward and go beyond the awareness presentations when we look at the surrounding concerns around increasing suicides and mental illness issues in that area and across the country. Michelle Reese, through her networking, was able to share a Wellness Week campaign that she had come across from a land far, far away in Canada. And so with that, her and I talked. We brought it to the school counselors and the team, and they jumped on board right away. It was very positive. We then brought in HR so we could work with the staff too, and they came to the table, and the theme of Take a Moment was born. While there are daily themed activities surrounding mental, emotional, physical health and connectivity, mindfulness, a menu of items were provided to the schools so they could select from those and customize what fit them for what they were looking for. So with that, then we, after last year's week, we had some unsolicited positive feedback come through, which was very pleasant to receive. So we indulged and we went ahead and we ran it again this year. With that, I ask that you please watch our opening video, and so you can see some of the things that we brought forward to the campuses.
Having the best time of your life.
That's not very likely. Anemic circulation.
I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey. in perfect harmony. I like to hold it in my arms and keep it company. I like to see the world for once, all standing hand in hand, and hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. That's the song I sing. That's the song I sing. What the world wants today. What the world wants today. That's the way it will stay. That's the way it will stay. With the real thing, peace and love. That's the song I sing. I like to teach the world what the world wants today. Perfect harmony. Perfect harmony. I like to hold it in my arms and keep it company. Put your hand in my hand. Let's begin today. With your hand in my hand, help me find the way. I'd like to see what the world wants to say. Hand in hand, standing hand in hand, hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. That's a song I sing. I like to teach the world what the world wants to be. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. A song of peace that echoes on and never fades away. That's the song I sing. I like to teach the world what the world wants to be. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. A song of peace that echoes on and never fades away. A song of peace that echoes on. And never fades away. Peace throughout the land. To teach the world, standing hand in hand. To teach the world, peace throughout the land. To teach the world, standing hand in hand. I'd like to teach the world to sing.
So that was compliments of. Y'all wanted to sing, didn't you? So that's compliments of Quentin Bingham, our video intern that's working with Michelle, and the choirs of Bridges and Centennial along with Higley High School. So with that then, we moved forward then with the week's activities, and this is truly a very short snippet of some of the things that the kids worked on and did. So we've already debriefed with the counselors, and we'll move forward and are already got some things in the works for next year.
President Reese, members of the board, I would also like to state that we're very proud that now districts to the north and to the west of us are now jumping in the Wellness Week, and Higley is happy and proud to be the catalyst for culture and inclusion across the state. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yep.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. It makes me want to go to school.
I just, I love this. But even my kids loved this. I mean, it's just such a perfect time of year when we're going into finals that they can just kind of stop and breathe and just know it's okay, it's okay. And I love too that just the emotions. I'm sure you can pick out some kids that, oh, why are you feeling that way? And it just brings that connection and the community together for students. And can we do it every week?
We did have an elementary student who put on his emoji that he was planning his ability to become the god of his next world. So.
I have a suggestion for next year. During finals week on a college campus, there's an organization that brings puppies.
Oh, yes.
And they bring a group of puppies so the students can sit
Can all
around
play
and
with them.
play with the puppies. So I'll share that
We're
link
bringing
for
puppies
you, okay?
next year.
Puppy petting. Thank you. We know a lot of work goes into that. All right, we're going to go on then to 8.3, the professional development days that have been added to the approved 2019, 2020, and 2020 and 21 school calendar.
President Reese, members of the board, we have added some professional development dates to the calendar, but this is not yet finished. We do have the calendars that we have for the 1920 and 2021 school year, but because of some of the changes in legislation, we are looking forward to going back and counting the number of days and hours that our students are required to be in class and bringing some more professional development days to our middle and high schools as we move forward. So this is the beginning. This is a precursor to what we have to come on professional development days, and we look forward to bringing you more opportunities for our middle and high schools to have professional development.
Thank you, and I just want to clarify, so the board approved 3 years of calendars, and the approval of the calendar that the board approved was the start, the breaks, and the end. The other items, such as professional development days, early release days, at that time was not included. And we had asked that this be looked at. Obviously, this board has had several discussions regarding professional development, especially trying to get our high school teachers more professional development because of that change in legislation. So this is a review item for us to be able to look at, indicating, yes, we're moving forward with getting more professional development days.
That is correct, President Reese, and we will be looking forward to bringing you more opportunities for our middle and high schools to have professional development.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Obviously, our elementaries get early release every Wednesday, so they have a little bit more time. Part of that's prep, but the other part can be used for professional development. So I know I appreciate that. Thank you. Mrs. Kaler?
President Reese. And as we're doing this and I'm looking, I think it's really important too that we take into consideration that when we do a half day for, let's say, like middle school had half days, but not the high school. It can really kind of, it's concerning to me that the older kids might be picking up the younger. There's a lot of families that are all connected and have. So I just want to be sensitive to our families too that have older kids taking care of littles after school, and that those line up too as we move ahead. I know this last school year, some of those days didn't line up, so I want to make sure moving ahead that we are sensitive to that.
Thank you for that reminder, Vice President Reese, or Vice President Kaler.
All right, any other questions regarding showing the early release? Okay. Then we will go on to 8.4, which is our salary and compensation analysis for 2018 for the classified salary schedule.
President Reese, members of the board, at this time I would like to welcome up Mom Martins to do her salary and comparison analysis for classified salary schedules for the 2018 school year and as we move forward.
Good evening, President Reese, Vice President Kalar, members of the board, my fellow colleagues in the Higley community. I'm here today to talk about and inform you regarding our classified salary schedule. And the impetus behind this, as many of you are familiar with, is the legislation called Prop 206, and effective January 1, 2019, minimum wage goes up to $11 an hour. So, give me a second while I pull this up. So in preparation for this upcoming increase, this past summer, I started to take a look at our current classified hourly schedule. And I will be honest and say last year when I arrived in mid-August, it was all a bit of a blur. So I really had an opportunity this past summer to take a look at what we were doing. And as I really took a closer look, some things started to not make sense. I will share, I don't believe it's anybody's fault. I think sometimes when you're making a salary schedule, and I was informed that it was one of the first ones the district had done in a long time, mistakes can happen where none of us are perfect. So as I show you our current classified salary schedule, I think it was great that Higley looked ahead and went to the higher rate in March, April of 2017, with the upcoming changes that were going to occur in the following January of 2018. So they jumped ahead a little bit, and that's kudos to them. But as I took a look at the salary schedule and I asked the team that I worked with, my fellow HR colleagues, how this was determined, some of it is lost in translation when you have transition and individuals who leave. And there were some people that had left, and so I worked on this in detail, and they didn't know maybe all the specific components to it. But as I took a look at it, and it was explained to me by my colleagues that when this schedule was put together, their understanding was that they were looking at a salary schedule that reflected what I call grades, so the letters at the top are grades, and as you look at the years 1 through 5, I refer those to as steps, that they were looking to try to make it consistent, and so they were looking at 2% across between each grade and 2% down between each step level. When I actually took a look at it to see what the percent differences were, you can see it's not necessarily reflected that way. I think it's quite possible that some of it was just a type of a finger and maybe kind of put some numbers incorrectly in the bigger picture. But as I was addressing this did provide some complications as we look to move forward because we already have some inequities and it's hard to clearly clear up those, at least not in one stage. And so as I continue with the presentation and we talk about the last slide, we'll talk about future considerations. But if you see in grade, as you get further down and you go to grade G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, the highest right there between K and L with over a 9% increase between the two salary grades. So I took a look at what positions fall within these grade levels. Is that maybe part of the consideration that happened here in that high of a percentage difference? As I took a look at them, and I used the history that I've had in human resources and working with schedules and classification systems, it didn't appear that to be the case, and that's where I came up with it's likely there was some of the just mistype of the finger in the bigger picture. So as I looked at that and said, what do we need to think about in addition to the fact that here's the time that we're looking at minimum wage increases as we look long-term into the future? So some of the things that I looked at was our community as well as what was being offered around. So if you notice there, for Higley Unified School District, the first bullet point actually is our custodial positions. So one thing that I noticed on our salary schedule was that if you're a part-time custodian, you started off at $10.79 an hour. If you were a full-time custodian, you started at $11.26 an hour. You do the exact same job, you just happen to be part-time versus full-time. So that raised some questions with me as I looked at the schedule, as well as what I perceived to be inequities when you talk about impact of position and what they do on a campus or a site or within the district. And you look at some of the other positions in the grade levels. And so we had certain positions, for example, our security guards, which their impact, their type of work, their duties do function higher than a custodian, but they made less than our custodians. So we had some other components there that were concerning, and that's where we're going to be looking at the big picture too as we move forward. Some other things I had heard from my colleagues, Queen Creek went straight to the $12 an hour because as we talk further, Prop 206 January 1 of 2020 will move to $12 an hour. And then as I was looking around within our community, and additionally, I was looking at Gilbert Chandler Community College and their advertising, and they advertise and talk about what they call this quote-unquote livable wage. And what they determined in their perspective to be a livable wage was an equivalent of $14.42 an hour, approximately $30,000 a year if you looked at 2,080 hours, which is common within classified hourly individuals. Mesa schools, their custodians were already making $11 an hour. Maricopa County, they advertise their positions ranging from 12 to 18. So again, years of experience. And a lot of private companies in Gilbert, not only for custodians, but for other positions. So some other positions that we struggle with keeping individuals, our clerical positions, our parapro positions, where they were already starting at a higher number than we were at the 1050, depending on where they at in the salary schedule. So those are all things that I wanted you guys to take into consideration as we're thinking about what the future holds for us too. I happen to be at Target, and Target's one of my favorite stores. You probably find me there every weekend. And they're hiring seasonal employees at $12 an hour. And I know Chick-fil-A is, a much bigger Fortune 500 company around the U.S., but they're our competitors. And as I am a nice consumer within our community, as I was at Chick-fil-A, I noticed last spring that they were hiring cashiers starting at $13 an hour. So when you have places that are hiring significantly higher than you, it does make it hard, and it does make it a challenge for us to continue to keep our employees, and also at times to get quality employees, and not always have this rolling door. And these are some of the things that I hear from our very supervisors, managers, and other administrators when it comes to challenges in hiring. And although there could be some vacancy value in the meantime when positions open up and we don't fill right away. There's a lot of manpower that goes into hiring individuals and recruiting and processing and training. And unfortunately, in some instances, I can share examples within this last school year where we had individuals show up for 2 days and leave, individuals not show up at all because they got a better offer somewhere else, even though they had accepted with us. So I will say professionally, sometimes I question their integrity or their professional ethics when they don't come, but I also understand I don't know their story. I only know the tip of the iceberg, and they might have a family, they might be supporting more members than they can, and so they're trying to just stay alive themselves. So I don't fault anybody for any of that in the bigger picture either. So as the Human Resources team was looking at this and what we wanted to propose and what we proposed to Cabinet prior to coming today to present to you as a board was that let's go a little bit more than just the minimum wage. What can we afford? And talking with Cabinet and Gary as our CFO, we kind of took a look at kind of what we can do for now and maybe what we can do in the future. So the new schedule that we're proposing is a start of $11.15 an hour. And Dr. Schillenberg had asked me, well, why $11.15? I said, really just to make it a little more than minimum wage for right now in the bigger picture, as well as what I felt Mr. Holland could handle in terms of the budget capacity. So taking that into consideration in the bigger picture. So $11.15 with the start. So I did take the salary schedule and bring some consistencies to it. So I looked at it and I said from grades A through K, I'm looking at 2.5% across, and then between the step levels 1 through 5, I consistently looked at 2% in between, and that's where we came up with these numbers. But I realized because of the challenge that we had with the current salary schedule, where we had K and L and we had those 5%, 9% higher levels of increases, I knew I couldn't do 2.5% completely across. So what I felt, and in conversation with my colleagues in the Human Resources Department, in a bigger picture, was that, okay, we could probably do 4% from grades K through N. So there is a 4% percentage between those grade levels to keep it similar to what we had previously. And this really impacts our new employees, because this is the salary schedule for our new individuals. However, we do have a number of current employees who don't even make $11.15 an hour. So we will be looking to increase 113 employees to bring them up to that $11.15. What I'll talk about a little bit further that causes issues is a salary compression, and that's not something we can address financially completely all now. We have to do it in stages, and I view this as probably being a 3-year stage phase where we can hopefully address the salary compression issues with more data, more research, and that bigger picture. So with moving to the $11.15 an hour and moving to that on January 1 for our current employees, we're looking at, in terms of financial impact, not including benefits, about $19,600. So something that in cabinet that I discussed with my fellow colleagues that I wanted to think about and had hoped for today, but I understand we have to take things in stages, and I want to be fiscally responsible in the bigger picture too. So as we look at future considerations, we discussed, we know that Prop 206 is going to $12 an hour. Like many other things, it's an unfunded mandate. We're not getting any more dollars to support this, but could we potentially move to that $12 an hour sooner? So something we discussed was, why don't we look to do that July 1, and this next spring, these next few months, Human Resources will take the opportunity to observe and to look and see the impact of that, as well as then the impact of salary compression that relates to that too. But that's not the only issue we have to address if we really want to be able to be competitive in other areas that we have that are areas of concern that I have seen and had to address issues with. And one of that is subpay. As of this school year, we are now the lowest district in this East Valley for substitute pay. And I have heard anecdotally from our site administrators is that we're struggling with getting substitutes. Most of our surrounding districts pay up to $95 an hour, going all the way up to Apache Junction at $105. Not hour, pardon me, day. That'd be great if that was an hour, wouldn't it? A day, pardon me, a day. And really, when you think about it and you divide that amount, we use the example if we were to move up to $100 a day, you divide that by 8 hours, that actually just gets you at the $12. So really equal to minimum wage in that bigger picture too. The other impact that I was able to observe in this is, even at the $11.15, or if we're able, when that time comes, to go to $12 an hour. And right now it's impacting, as I said, 113 employees. When we go to $12 an hour, if we were to go to $12 an hour now, it would be impacting 238 employees. So a number of those employees, if they were at $12 an hour, with somebody new coming in, or somebody who isn't making $12 an hour yet and will be going up to the $12 or the $11.15, we can interchange those two numbers. There'll be a number of individuals to where they will be right up against somebody who's maybe been here 5 to 10 years who might be making $12.01. And so we'll have to address that in that bigger picture too. But like I said, that's going to be a phased out component, because financially that's not something that we can address all at once. So we've got to deal with the minimum wage impacts, and then we'll deal with the salary compression, as well as making sure too, in that bigger picture, is it equitable when we look at where their job had been classified in the past, and as we move to the future, where their job should be classified. Some other things that we've been talking about within the district that we want to address in future years, and Mr. Glover, you have brought this up in the past, I believe last school year, is that, looking at increasing our years of teachers' experience as one way on our certified side in that bigger picture. And then, one of the things we did last year, and I'm happy to report, it actually, I don't have hard data, but anecdotally, our hard to fill stipend that we created last spring has been successful in some instances with getting people who were hesitant to join us to decide to come and join us when that extra $2,000 did matter to them in the bigger picture, even though it was 1 year. So reevaluating those and making sure that our hard to fills are in the right areas also. Something that's happening within our East Valley, Tempe Union, one of our neighboring school districts, actually just went out for an RFP for a class and comp survey, classification and compensation survey. And if anybody knows about those, they are horrific. When you do a full class and comp survey, they're doing a mini version. I found out about a kind of late, but they invited other school districts in the area to join if they wanted. So our name was on the RFP, although we haven't decided fully if we're going to join, but a number of other school districts have decided to join. And they're benchmarking a dozen positions, both certified and classified, and then taking those dozen positions and saying, like, what could be the future impact of these? Are they classified correctly in the scheme of not only within Arizona, but our competitors in the East Valley? And also, one of the organizations talked about a measurement tool, which is great. It's a job analysis tool. Where I came from in Illinois, we used the Hayes classification system, and we would do job analysis for reclassifications, reorganizations of our employees when their jobs description no longer fitted their job duties. So that's one of the tools that they're looking at too, to hopefully have to analyze their positions as they move forward, so that way they're always staying on top of what they can do and not having to do class and comp surveys regularly, because usually you only want to do one of those like once every 15 to 20 years. You don't want to do those on a regular basis because it can become challenging for a campus in the bigger picture. But those are some of our future considerations. So today was really an info session to explain to you what we need to do now, and that to keep in mind that I'll likely be back in the spring, later this spring, to talk about what we have to think about for the summer and as we move ahead. Questions?
Thank you. You came in the midst of Prop 206 after it had been approved and implemented, and I don't think people realize the impact Prop 206 would have on our communities, our economy, and unlike a business, we can't just increase our prices. So I think everyone's seen that dollar menu is not $1 anymore. It's $1.50 menu, and you're seeing more automated. You go to Fry's and there's more self-checkouts and less cashiers, and the Prop 206 has really hit our community. And as a school district, like you said, for custodians, we know they need to be paid more. We want to pay them more. We don't get any more money from the state. The state did not help compensate. I mean, at this point, our minimum wage has increased since Prop 206 went into effect, like 35%. In 2 years.
Absolutely.
And as private businesses, they can increase their prices and offset that cost, and they have. And as a district, we're also consumers, and we have to pay those increased prices for our goods and services. So we have to pay increased prices, we have to pay our employees more, and we don't get any more. So I appreciate you thinking ahead and looking at that. Taking the time to really analyze our salary structures as well as our classifications. Are they correct? Are people in the right areas? Where should they be on the salary scales? So I appreciate that. I would like to look forward to more information, Mr. Holland. If we can try and pre-plan as much as we can when we're offering positions next year. So I would much rather look and be prepared and plan than have to come back in January to meet that $12 if we can try and be ahead of the game. So I certainly appreciate your understanding and the deep dive you took into looking at that information. So,
thank you.
Mr. Witovich?
Sure. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I would like to see our district be the school of choice in the East Valley or even in the state. And my concern is that we're having a conversation and we're settling at 11.15 an hour right now, when somebody next door is offering 12. So I guess why aren't we even raising the bar even more to be the school district of choice? Because I'm looking at Target, and I could work at Target for 8 hours and have $104 versus being a sub here. So you've got some competition, and I see a high turnover in our staff when I visit the schools in reference to our maintenance departments and things like that. So as far as we're being cost effective, and for $11.15 an hour, it's costing us more to constantly interview, to see what's out there, when we could just be up there a little bit more and be the school district of choice. So please, I'm asking, I guess,
Certainly.
I want us to be the school of choice.
Certainly.
I don't want us to be, well, next door is doing 12, we'll do 11.15. I'm not comfortable with that, okay? And because it's not a livable wage, and when you expect a person to work full-time at $11.15 per hour, that's not a livable wage, and that's why we have this huge turnover. So, I mean, let's take a look at the whole package here. Let's look at the things as reference to, substitute teaching. Let's raise that bar a little bit, so we do have the substitute teachers here in our district, because we're just struggling here, and we need to be. I want the other districts to look at us for the example in this district.
Certainly. I certainly share philosophically your viewpoint, Mr. Witovich. I can tell you we had a lot of dialogue, and we dialogued multiple times regarding this and talking about can we shift to the $12 an hour right away, and that bigger picture and the cost implications with that, but not just in terms of current employees as we bring in new employees, but also the benefits that tie to all of that in that bigger picture. When it really ultimately came down to it, what was one of the deciding factors in this, and by all means, Mr. Holland, correct me or add in if you would like to, it was really about, as we budget and prepare, starting and having one impact right now that we know and can manage, because what we don't know, the unknown, is how much rollover are we going to have in employees and how many new people are going to come in at 11:15. We can take a look and assess what's going to cost us for our current employees, but not the future or the new, the unknown. And so what will be helpful for us is to have that extra opportunity to look at the overall district budget and assess that, and then be able to have in a new fiscal year prepared for the $12 rate increase. I will say I'm with you, Mr. Witovich, and I think all of my colleagues here in this room and all of you, the rest of the board, want to be the district of choice too. And I can tell you anecdotally, I think we are there in many ways at different parts. I think there's some things that we have to work on, and we're, every organization can have growth and shift it positively in different ways. But when you think back to the presentation that we had done in the joint meeting with Gilbert Township, it was amazing to see that we'd been rated as one of Gilbert's top employers. I mean, I think we were, don't quote me, but I think we were 12 on that list of 20 for ZIPA's top employers. What I'm hearing from some of the people that we've been interviewing recently, because we've unfortunately had some departures mid-year, is that they chose Higley. There might have been some things that didn't quite equal up in terms of numbers, but they want to be with Higley. So our word is getting out there. People are hearing about us and the positive things that we're doing from our current employees, to where I think we're getting noticed in ways we might not have been noticed as well in the past. So we're getting there, and I understand.
I understand.
So.
It's just, if I sit with a group of students and to work in an afternoon, school program here in Higley, or work at Target or in an Outburger, they're going to get $12, $13 an hour. So where are they going to go? Okay, so I mean, we need to be competitive as you look at it in reference to the future. I understand. So
Absolutely.
we've got competition out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, and as Ms. Martin said, if it was that easy, we wouldn't be having this discussion. You have to be careful on new people coming in, like you said, making the same as someone who's been in a position 4 or 5 years, because we've had to bump them, and we want to handle that very delicately.
Absolutely.
I know, just as a business owner, there are certain positions that are minimum wage, and it's that for a reason, but it's a $50,000 impact a year for me as a business owner, and I have to prepare for that. And I agree with you. I think if we could create that gap and be competitive, in that fashion. I think that's great. I think that this is where we kind of use your Monday through Friday. You don't have to deal with retail. You're off on the holidays. That slight edge over Target, because I wouldn't want to work there right now. But so there's some trade-offs, but I completely agree. I just know from a business owner standpoint, it's not that easy, and you have to plan out, and you have to plan way out, and how that's going to work, because at that point you have new staff coming in, and your current staff is now upset because your new staff is either making the same or more than they are when they've been here for a period of time. So now you no longer have that longevity. You have a bunch of new staff members that you're trying to backfill, not just that person, but the knowledge and the relationships and everything else you get with having that longevity.
Absolutely. We definitely will be thoughtful about how we communicate this, because that compression is real. But unfortunately, without more time to analyze that compression, and there's multiple ways in which we can address that. I've known organizations to do off-cycle increases, do flat numbers for certain positions in certain ranges of different years. There's multiple ways we can address it, but we have to figure out what's best for us. And I've started to dialogue with my colleagues about that, and so they know here are some ideas, here are some suggestions, so what might be the best for us, and then that impact, because we will, even at the 11:15, we'll have employees who've been here 3-4 years that are even longer, actually a 5 to 10 year span that's maybe making 11:16. And how do you thoughtfully communicate that the new people coming in with no experience, but we'll be making that 11:15 and you're just a couple pennies higher. But like I said, that's some of what we're looking at to hopefully address for July 1 in the new fiscal year for our classified hourly and as we continue.
President Reese.
Mrs.
Just a couple things. Yes, I agree, especially with our substitutes, because aren't we paying coverage for classes then to our teachers if they cover a class? So
for
we
our
are
secondary level.
Secondary level. So we are paying money out. So I would rather, our teachers not lose their prep, and we pay our substitutes higher as well. So I totally agree. I second what you both are saying. But I'm just so thankful that you caught this and that you are cleaning up our books, per se, as far as this schedule goes, because I too kind of came on board shortly after, before, and the numbers and the percentages and everything, we were trying so hard to make it, smooth. So I just appreciate that in you. And I forget what, but thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I had two things. First, I just want to be clear on something. So, thank you anyway. I didn't.
No, absolutely.
You said July 1st, talking about going up to $12 an hour, and it will impact 238 employees. We're talking about starting at 12 and then going 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, and then 2% down for everybody all the way
Potentially.
through?
We'll
Okay.
have to look at that when the time comes. I've come up with a myriad of salary schedules. I have an Excel workbook with many different tabs looking at that. One example is 12, 2.5 across, 2 down. There's some others, if I can get away with it, that have a little higher number in the bigger picture. And again, looking at what our positions are, what our areas, et cetera. So, the question I always get from Mr. Holland is, how much is that going to cost us? So, and then what does that mean in the bigger picture? So, yes.
Well, I think we all, I'm sensing, I mean, I have watched Undercover Boss, and I love it because what happens is you have people that are not used to doing a lot of this manual labor, and they do it for 2-3 days a week, and you just see them groaning on the bed of a Best Western at the end of the day. It's hard work. Yeah. So I support paying these folks. I do want to say, though, I think our retention rate is improving, and I think including them in things in, the MOU and including the classified staff, which we're going to get to later, all of these things really do help. And I think my iPad just went to sleep, but some of the things that we were talking about, increasing the years of experience and increasing sub-pay, these are all on the right track, and they fall, I think, again, even with the public relations stuff, hitting goal number 2, all of these, goal number 3, these are guiding us and helping us make good progress. And I know budgets are really difficult, but this is a good investment, I think, is paying these folks that do sometimes backbreaking work. So, thanks.
Mr. Glover reminded me that it is a lot about our culture, and we have had a shift in our culture in the last year or so, maybe year and a half even, and I've seen that, I hear about it, and so, I appreciate the whole financial part, but like Mr. Glover says, there's so much more to the equation of wanting them to come, wanting to come to work at Higley. So just that kudos to everybody that's trying to make those changes.
And thank you, Mr. Holland, Ms. Martins. I actually support the idea to go at 11:15 now with one eye on the current employees and really keeping that our focus. I feel that, or I sense that that's your kind of motivation, and I think that's very wise. So thank you.
Thank you.
President Reese, members of the board, I would also like to thank Mrs. Martin and her HR team. We have analyzed and dissected numbers till we got numbers flying at us in our sleep. And this is not an easy problem to fix with the compression and the Proposition 206 minimum wage increase and how we're going to move forward and fix all of the issues that we have while keeping our culture elevated and while, recognizing that some employees have been here for quite a while and haven't had the same 35-40% increase as some of the lower level employees. So Mrs. Martins and her team have done an incredible job of doing this, and also while keeping in mind being fiscally responsible for the district also. It's not an easy problem to solve. We know we got a long ways to go, but I wanted to recognize Mrs. Martins and her team.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other further questions or comments, then I'll go on to 8.5. I move that we approve the 2018-19 hiring schedule for hourly classified employees as presented.
Second.
Any other comments? I think we all said what needed. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we'll go on to 8.6. Ratifying the 2018-19 Memorandum of Understanding between Higley Unified School District and the Higley Education Association. I move that we approve that memorandum as presented.
Support.
I wanted to start off by saying, and Mr. Glover touched on it a minute ago, the change in the MOU to include employees. We see employees. We see that we're including all staff. And I know this has been a conversation really big in the last year prior to then, but to really we're here to support all the employees in the district. And so I really appreciate the time and effort. We have the members of the committee listed that there was a lot of thought and discussion that went into that, and I appreciate that, so I wanted to make note of that.
Do you guys have anything to add, HEA? No? I do have stuff. I'm not putting you on the spot. If you have anything you want to add, please do.
So we have Miss June Blaine here, who is the president of the HEA. So thank you for coming.
Well, in the past, the organization, the association, has just looked at certified employees, but really looking at the fact that we were what's called a wall-to-wall organization and realized that those changes need to be made in the verbiage for the MOU so that those other employees are being represented as well.
Mr. Glover.
Yeah, I had a few little notes here. It does, and I talked to Dr. Thompson a little bit about this, and I was asking, obviously the HEA president should be on there, and some other people, but about rotating leadership and the importance of rotating leadership through there to give teachers and HEA members an opportunity. In other words, you don't want for 10 years in a row it to be the same team. I mean, it makes it easy to work with, but it doesn't grow leaders. So we talked about. I just think good leaders help make more good leaders, and bad leaders just make more followers. So just to include that, I still am interested. It wasn't in here, but I still am interested. I guess maybe nobody else is too terribly interested, but it's the idea of a sick bank, a voluntary sick bank, isn't the worst idea in the world. And then, like I was asking Ms. Blaine if the Higley folks get anything for being on there, and they get release time. And I know I had similar roles in other places, and I said, well, hey, man, what could you at least pay my AEA dues or something for the year? And that did happen. So, you know, I'm glad they're on there. I'm glad they're getting leadership opportunities. But if it's, I know you're glaring at me for some other stipend. But something, and maybe AEA has to work it out, or the HA has to work it out for that. But that's something. People's time is worth something. And then I just have to pause for a moment. Can't read my handwriting. Oh, I just asked how often that they meet, and it's just for the good of all. It's usually monthly, unless it's unless something is a hot button item and they need to meet more. So that's all good. So anyway, I'm really glad again to see the classified staff included, and it all goes to making a better school district. So thanks.
President Reese, members of the board, I would like to say that I'm very proud of our HEA and our Higley leadership working together for the best for our community and for our students and for our district. I think we've come a long ways. Special thanks to June that has been with us for a while, and she knows the past and the triumphs we've come through and the tribulations that we've had in the past in moving the district forward. And so I would just like to give, full thanks to June and the HEA team for working with the administrative staff and moving our district forward to be a leader within the state of Arizona.
Thank you. I know they certainly represent Higley well throughout the state, so.
Madam President, if I just want to add, if Dr. Thomason wasn't interested in working with employees, none of this would happen. So hats off to you as well, sir.
Yes, we have not always had the same relationship with the HEA and district administration. So as a board member, I'm very proud of both our HEA and our district administration for working so well together. All right, if we don't have anything else, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we're going to go on to 8.7. I'm going to excuse myself for this particular item.
So, as acting Vice President, I move that we approve the tuition charge changes for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Questions or discussion?
Madam Vice President, I just want to remind everybody that it is one of the best deals in the state to get your kids in these programs. They are top-notch.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Mr. Glover.
Sure. I just also like to remind the community that as far as just a short conversation that we're having right now, we had a lengthy conversation at a work study session. So it's not that we're not asking questions now. All those difficult questions were asked at our work study session. So I think the community needs to be aware of that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Witovich. We did have a work study, and Mrs. Patty, just Miss Patty. I know, Mrs. Gleason. I just know her as Miss Patty. Mrs. Gleason, yes, she gave us a very in-depth presentation, and we so much appreciate that. So all those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mrs. Gleason. It's two years running.
right. Right? Okay. We're going to go on to future agenda items. We have future agenda items listed. We have our technology update presentation scheduled in January. Do we have other items that we want to add to our future agenda item? Mr. Glover?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I did forget to kind of mention this in 8.6, but I talked to Dr. Thomason a little bit about this, and it's our leave of absence policy. We have it for, gosh, I wrote it down, for sabbatical. So if you were going to school or something like this, but what we don't have is if you're a young family and you're starting out and you want to just take a year off to bond with your child, we don't really have a policy that covers that.
So then,
yeah, anyway.
Ms. Martin's.
Yeah, okay, I'll shut up, yes, I'll talk to you about it, I
We
guess.
just don't want to get into detail about.
Okay, yeah.
So you want our LOA policy to be reviewed and potentially updated?
Yeah, it's policy GCCF, I think is the sabbatical one, and then we have GCCA, which is professional and supplemental staff leave.
Okay.
President Reese, I think one of the other things we discussed at a prior board meeting was career readiness. We were having a discussion on that as far as where our district is.
Madam President, just one. I'm looking forward to the mental health awareness update from the guidance counselors, and this additional topic may not be appropriate for that meeting, but perhaps in the future, I'd love to just see our district develop more materials surrounding the dangers of vaping for teenagers. It's a very relevant topic, and I'd just like to get in front of the students more to explain the risks of any behavior that they'd want to experiment with.
Thank you, that's a good point, and as more information continues to come out, we learn more all the time.
Also, on the February 27th, we saw Queen Creek yesterday at our swearing-in ceremonies, and they just brought forth some new policies on mental health awareness that their board approved. I don't know, can we get that information from them just to kind of see like what's being talked about? I know we did one, but I don't know what else that they had added.
Yes, President Reese, members of the board, will find out what's happening in Queen Creek. We'll get their policies and we'll bring it to cabinet and see how they align to ours and if there's anything that we can do differently.
Right. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank Mr. Thornock. Tonight is his last meeting with us as he ends his appointment. So I want to take a moment to thank him, and we appreciate everything he's done. I'm trying to reach it. This is from the board. And as we say goodbye to Mr. Thornock, we will be welcoming Ms. Jill Wilson, who was sworn in yesterday as one of our new board members, and Mr. Witovich and Mrs. Kaler were also sworn in again for additional terms. Mrs. Kaler will be serving a 4-year term. Mr. Witovich will be serving a 2-year term, and Mrs. Wilson will be serving a 4-year term as well. So we're excited to hit the ground running in January. We appreciate everything you've provided, and even up to right now giving us more information for our future agendas. So we appreciate that. So thank you. And if we have nothing else, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a good night and happy holidays.